Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about study tips and revision tips that I have for A-levels and GCSEs, and not only A-levels and GCSEs. I suppose it could work for any exams you have really, but I use them for my GCSEs and my first year of A-levels, and it's what I plan on using for my second year of A-levels as well, which is what I'm in at the moment. And before we start, just in case anyone's curious, currently, like I said, I'm in my second year of A-levels, and I'm taking English A-level, Law A-level, and Geography A-level, and yeah, that's about it. So, let's get started with the revision tips then. So, firstly, what I would say is, it sounds pretty common sense, but you'd be surprised the amount of people that don't actually buy the textbooks for your subjects, and definitely buy these, because not only for most of your classes are you going to need them, but also they're just really helpful for when you start revising, because essentially, because it's your textbook, it is just a book filled with everything you need to know. So as long as you stick to the stuff that's in here, you're doing well, if that makes sense. So just revise everything that's in here and then you should be ready for your exam. However, I would also say, rather than just using a book like this, because that can get kind of like boring and tenuous. Tenuous? Is that even a word? But I would also say try using different resources, like try using the websites online, try YouTube videos are really good. I use YouTube clips for English A-level, especially for like poetry. There's lots of videos on there like analysing different poems, so that's really good, and that like changes it up a bit so it's not as boring. What I would also say is get folders like this. This is my law folder for second year of A-levels. Just get any folder really will do. And what these are good for is, because what I've found a lot, especially from moving from GCSE to A-level, is that in A-levels there's a lot more like handouts in class, like pieces of paper and stuff, and just things that can easily get lost or misplaced if you don't have a folder. So it's really good to have a folder just to keep all of your resources in one big folder, which means it's really easy to find it when you're starting revision. And what I use is I put things associated to like the same chapter or the same part of the course, if that makes sense, in one of these like plastic folders, and it just stops them from like sliding out. It also means I don't have to hole punch everything that I put in my folder, because I just put them inside these little like plastic like pouches, if that makes sense. And yeah, then they don't get lost, and it also means that the paper doesn't get like all scrunched up and everything. So yeah, get folders like that. What I would also say, what I found, this is what I started doing last year for my AS levels, and this actually really helped me, because what I found is when I looked at what a lot of my friends were doing and what a lot of like YouTubers online say as one of their tips, is to do like to-do lists. And this is essentially my version of a to-do list, but what I do is, I don't know if you can see that, but this is what I did for Unit 2 Criminal Liability in my ASs for Law. This one's not filled out, I don't know why, but usually it would be filled out. And what it is it's like a table, and in the columns I've just got different like sections of maybe a chapter, or for this case a unit, but you can do whatever you want, just different sections of things that I need, like different mini sections inside the topic. And what I do is I've got the columns. So the first one is notes, then it goes on to summarised notes, flashcards, then a mock answer column, and then a perfect 10-mark answer. And what I do is, this is what I use for my revision. So say I was starting doing Unit 2 Criminal Liability and I was revising it, I'd go work my way down each of these. So I'd start with actus reus, which is a thing we need to know inside Unit 2 Criminal Liability, and I'd make notes on it to tick the first column. Then I'd summarise those notes so that they're not as long and it doesn't take as long as me to read through them, and it's just got like the main key points. And then I'd tick the second column. Then I'd create flashcards, which is another tip I have, is to use flashcards. and then I'd tick that column, then I'd I just work my way through all of the columns. Then once that whole thing is finished, like the whole line across for actus reus, so once the whole thing is finished the whole way across, then that means that I know that part of the mini chapter and I can move on to the next one. And then once I worked my whole way through and got the whole way through the chapter, that meant that I knew everything that was inside that chapter, if that makes sense. And that really helped me not only to stay organised, but also like motivated me, because one of the main things that I think prevents me from being like proactive with revision is that sometimes when I want to start revising, I don't know where to start, because I haven't really, like I find it much easier if I've already planned out in my head what I'm going to be doing, and then I can just get straight into it. I don't need to worry about getting my things together or looking for what work I need to do. I know what I need to do, and then I can just get straight into it, because I find the more time I spend thinking about what I should revise and do that, I'm just wasting time. So that really helped me. And like I said in that, one of the main revision techniques I use that really helps me like retain information is flashcards. So they're just little cards like this, with the light's blocking it, but it has like just lined paper cards which are double-sided, and these are blank ones. But over here I have some ones that are, what ones are these? These are, oh, these are my ones from GCSE history. So these are like 2 years old. I didn't even know what these were. And basically, yeah, so what I do is for GCSE history, I would write like one thing on one side. So for example, the Berlin crisis is written on one side of this. You can't really see because of the light. And then on the other side, I'd write everything I need to know about the Berlin crisis. I try and keep it summarised, but these ones are quite long because there was quite a lot of information to know. But so what you do is you pick it up, look at the Berlin crisis, and you try and think, what do I know about it, what do I know about it? And then once you've thought of all the things you know about it, you flip it over and see if you missed anything. And I just kept going through them, because these are really good for like taking around with you, and when you've got a spare 5 minutes, just picking them up and going through them all to keep them in your brain and stuff. It's just like a quick exercise for going through that, and I found that really helpful. And what was also helpful about the flashcards is some people tend to be, I can't remember what they're called, but some people find it easier to remember information when they like write it down or when they continuously write stuff. Some people are more visual learners, so they find it easier to look at things. And some people are good at like listening to things. That's why they like watching YouTube videos and stuff, because it's like visual and listening. And flashcards pretty much cover all of those aspects, because firstly, when you're creating the flashcards, you're writing down the information, so that's good for if you find it good to retain information when you've written it down. But then also, once you've done that, when you continuously use the flashcard as a revision technique, you can draw like pictures on it, for instance. If you're more of a visual learner, you can do that sort of thing. And if you find it easier to listen to things to retain information, then you could get like a family member to just read through them to you, and then maybe you can remember them that way. That might help you. So yeah, they're good. They're a good like all-round revision technique, and if you haven't tried them, I definitely suggest trying those. And finally, this is my plastic pouch full of model answers for one of my law units, because like I said on my checklist thing, the last 2 columns were a mock answer, which I wrote under time conditions, and then the second, like the final column, was making sure that mock answer was full marks, like a perfect answer. So this is essentially those last 2 columns full of things here. And what I'd write is I'd just go through past papers, look at exam questions, and just write out an answer for it under timed conditions, so that I could make sure I could do it within the time that would be allocated for that question. And then once I did that, I'd then go through it again with like my notes or the mark scheme and see what I could have done better, and just made sure it was a perfect answer, like 10 out of 10 marks or whatever. And then that is what I would put in this pouch. And I used to, towards the end of my exams, this is basically the main thing I'd use. I'd just read through these, rewrite them all, and just make sure I could learn all of these off by heart. Because for some subjects, you get the same questions asked regularly, so it's just a case of memorising the answer to that question, and then you can just repeat that in the exam and get full marks in that question, if that makes sense. So for law, some of the questions are like that, so that was really helpful to do that, and that, yeah, really helped me basically. So yeah, that's everything I have for now. If I think of any more, I'll possibly make a second one to this video. If you enjoyed, then please leave a thumbs up and comment anything else that you'd like me to see, like me to make on this channel, sorry. And be sure to follow me on Instagram and Snapchat. It should be coming up at the end on the end card. And thank you. I hope to see you again. Bye.